Hey guys, I'm Chris.
Hey everybody, I'm Robert.
And we're the Film Flamers.
And we are here, as always, at the start of the month to shoot the flames.
That's right, and it's September now. We're starting to say goodbye to the summer, and with that, our summer blockbusters.
That's right. So goodbye, summer blockbusters, and hello, hello Wood.
Elijah Wood.
That's right. We have lots of wood coming out for you this month, but first we have to do all of the comments and questions and voicemails and trailers and horror news that you've come to love and expect from us. So, Chris, how are you?
I'm okay.
Yeah? You enjoying?
I just moved.
That's right. Brand new home, brand new podcast nook.
Yep, I was staying in a little rental house, and now I have bought a home of my own, and I have just put together a new nuke that you have yet to see. This is Podcast Nook 3.0, so I'm sure you'll enjoy it.
I've enjoyed them all so far, so it stands to reason. This could be my favorite, right?
Maybe it's 4.0, actually, if you count the one in Boston.
Yeah, we did record there together.
Yeah.
2 times, maybe. I don't know. Either way.
Anyway.
We're off topic already, but so yeah, we have a lot coming for you in this episode, so why don't we just get started? We didn't get any reviews this month, but we like those reviews, so if you feel so inclined, if you enjoy this episode or any episode that we've put out, head over to Apple Podcasts or iTunes, leave us that review, 5-star rating, and we'll read it on next month's Shooting the Flames. But let's just move right on past that into comments.
Yeah, speaking of reading, we got a lot of comments this episode, starting with some reactions to our anniversary outtakes.
That's right. Kimberly over on Patreon said, "Cell-abortion made me snort laugh, but fitting. That play was the theatrical equivalent of an abortion."
And we're talking about the play from Addams Family of Values.
That's right. So go and listen to our outtakes episode if you have not, because, we use the word cell-abortion.
At Matthew McHenry said, "Yes, these are the best. Congrats on 3 years. I'll take the latest bloopers episode as wonderful early birthday gift."
Just as we intended it, Matthew.
Yes.
And he comments on like almost all of our outtakes episodes. He's the guy who made those memes, right? Like he had Jaws saying "rawr" and shit.
Oh,
so.
Awesome.
But most of our comments came from our episode of The Terminator, right? Yeah. And Nikki over on Twitter said, "Can't wait to listen. This was the next recommended watch from my oldest son. He loves listening to your podcast because he thinks I'm famous since you mentioned my name, LOL."
She also continued on Patreon and said, "Kerfuffle and claptrap. This episode is already great." Yeah, I think we mentioned kerfuffle and claptrap for Terminator.
That's right. Well, we like the word kerfuffle.
And claptrap.
It's a new favorite. Nicole over on Patreon said, "The one detail I've never been able to get over in the movie is the $4.50 cover charge at Tech Noir. Not $5, $4 and some change. That's just annoying for everyone. Just making fucking change at a busy nightclub all night long. And poor Sarah is terrified and on the run, and now she has to look for loose change. I'm surprised she didn't just throw her whole ass purse at the guy."
You know what's funny is like when I watched it for our recording, that's exactly the same thing. That I was like actively annoyed by that.
I don't even think that I noticed it, really.
I did. I know. I was so annoyed by it. I was like, $4.50? What the fuck? Isn't that expensive for like 1980 or whenever this is? Also, why 50 cents?
I mean, I'm at the point now where I'm like almost 42 years old, and if I went to a bar or a club and they were like, the cover is $5 or $10, I'd be like, go fuck yourself. I'm about to like drink myself into like being a pickle in your bar. You don't need to like take just random money. It's stupid. I hate that. I hate cover charges.
Bennet from Patreon said, "I'm glad you guys picked this movie. On a subconscious level, I always felt like The Terminator was an 80s slasher flick, but never quite put that together in my mind. I definitely saw it long after growing up, watching T2 as well, which is a pure 90s action flick, so that may have something to do with it. And yes, while the Arnold's prosthetic head effects seem a bit dated now, I remember always fast-forwarding whenever Arnold started cutting into his arm or dissecting his friggin' eyeball. My God."
Yeah, it is kind of gross, but I still stand by my dated comment. You know?
Yeah, I remember that kind of blowing me away as a kid. I'd never seen gore like that. Certainly someone doing it to themselves.
Yeah, I don't. That's one of my things in like horror movies. If someone has to like pull a fingernail off or some shit like that, I'm like, that's just fucking nasty, and I can't.
I thought it was the bone breaks.
Also that, I mean, it's like an audible, like bone breaking sound. Yeah. It's just like, oh my God, it makes my stomach churn. Ugh, God. There's a lot of that in Candyman, by the way. It's gross. The Unknown Patron over on Patreon, obviously, left us a comment too. And he says, there's a video of Arnold getting his COVID shot and then saying, come with me if you want to live. Also, only on this podcast could an assault on a police station be called a kerfuffle.
Well, we agree. Only here will you get that kind of quality content. Yeah, and I did look it up. He does say that in his drive-through window or whatever while he's getting his shot.
I think you posted that link over on Patreon too, so if anyone is so inclined to watch it, there it is.
Mm-hmm. At Mighty Krushkin said on Twitter, horror? Okay.
Yeah, I don't... How do you feel about this comment?
Well, the film, if you just have the tiniest little bit of perspective, is an obvious slasher, right? And we also know where James Cameron got his idea for it. So, you know, it's like, I feel like it kind of, we don't even have to argue it. You know, it just is what it is.
And you know what? Over on Twitter, like, this guy doesn't follow us, right? So he must have seen somebody retweet our posts, right?
Yeah.
And so I don't think he listens to our show, right? But I mean, like, comments like that are not super helpful to a conversation, right? I think you said that earlier when he commented, right? Like, at least tell us why it's not horror instead of like being such a jerk about it, really. Yeah.
It was a little sarcastic, little sassy, but you know what? It's okay. Most everything is subjective, you know, but honestly, this is pretty squarely a horror movie.
I mean, I agree. So,
yeah.
Hey, Mighty Kreskin, if you want to come back and tell us why it's not horror, if you're actually listening to this episode, then we welcome that comment. So, Dr. Joe over on Patreon said, really enjoyed the episode this week. I will say I've never really thought of The Terminator as a horror film. Okay, here we go. But I can see how one could make that argument. I mean, there's a ton of movies out there I would consider horror that are branded suspense or thrillers. That said, thinking of genre tropes, stalking and hunting down an individual and a large body count, The Terminator definitely falls into the horror category.
I mean, just because something has sci-fi elements, you know, doesn't make it a completely different genre. That would mean like The Terminator is in the same category as like Star Trek, and it's just not.
No, right. I mean, I would still call The Terminator horror adjacent. You know what I mean? But less so than other movies that we've called horror adjacent. So
I'd say it's horror movie with sci-fi elements. It's like, you know, there's some adjacency there, but the adjacency is sci-fi. It's sci-fi adjacent.
That's our next podcast. Sci-fi adjacent movies.
We'd have a never-ending flow.
Ew.
Sorry. Speaking of celebration. Sorry.
I have to say, too, I think that our latest outtakes are my favorite out of every single one of them we've put out. Yeah, because I've listened to them so many times now, and I just keep cracking up. The fucking coaster conversation just cracks my shit up.
Your coaster sucks. I can't buy. Yours the Christ. The flouncing fairy. The artsy fairy.
That's the artsy fairy.
Whatever my name is on Etsy. The artsy fairy.
Jesus.
Oh, God, we're quoting ourselves. This is getting a little too meta for me. From our deep dive into Terminator 2, at RLTerry1 said, I actually experienced the former attraction at Universal Orlando before watching the movie when I was a kid. Still miss it. While the first is a horror film, I do like T2 more. And I like how there are many ways of closely reading the film. I see Skynet as big government.
Agreed.
Yeah. I mean, sure. And of course, we agree that Terminator 1 is a horror film. T2 is much more actiony. It's horror. It's certainly horror adjacent. You know, it's more of like an action sci-fi with horror elements. But yeah, I could see that read. Skynet is big government and everything else. There's a lot of different facets to the story.
Yeah, I mean, and I kind of like the idea of like reading, you know, more closely into that movie, because I think a lot of people just look at it as like popcorn fodder, right? But I mean, there's a lot going on in there. So
I'm a little concerned that we only got one comment for Terminator 2 with so many for the first one. Yeah.
So, I mean, like, maybe just people haven't thought about the Terminator in a long time, and like more people watch Terminator 2 more often. I don't know, but it was our one comment.
Maybe we just had a very uncontroversial Terminator 2 episode. We'll see. I don't know.
Yeah, it's possible. We did get another comment from our deep dive on Alien 3. Timmy _ the creator over on Instagram said, I somehow like this movie. I know it's brilliant, but it has a special place, just like Jurassic Park 3. And he made the cry laughing emoji.
Did he mean to say he knows it's not brilliant?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, but that's what he said. So the cry laughing emoji made me think that he doesn't really like the movie. I mean, but like I kind of like Jurassic Park 3. So I mean,
yeah, it's better than 2, right?
No, but
I don't remember.
It's another conversation.
Wait, Jurassic Park 3 is the one with the raptor that goes, Alan! in his stream.
Yes.
God damn it. There's a whole set piece of like the birdcage thing, and I really liked it. That part of it, at least. But all the rest is kind of like William H. Macy just running around screaming.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
From our Flamers flashback into Prometheus and Covenant, DW over on Patreon said, yes, deep dive both. Alien is my favorite horror franchise, probably because I don't count 3, Resurrection, or anything with the Predator. Strong cast in Prometheus and Covenant, including Fassbender, and I love the return to the cosmic horror of the original. We definitely warmed up to Prometheus and Covenant, honestly. And yes, we definitely plan on deep diving them. And I guess continuing the tradition of next summer blockbuster season, probably July.
That's right. Yeah, we're gonna put them somewhere in there and really just like close out the franchise. We've changed our minds completely. And speaking of which, we got a comment on that flashback episode from Brandon over on Patreon. And he says, great mini episode. It really left me wanting to hear your deep dive, so I'm very excited for next July. I haven't seen either movie since they came out, and like you, I had such a disdain for them upon first viewing. I think for me, it was too much of a disconnect from the previous Alien films. Aside from the fact that there was no Ripley, which immediately infuriates me, the movies went off in too many directions: life, death, creation, etc. For me, I really didn't care about any of that, or where the xenomorph originated from. Frankly, I find it scarier not to know. However, this episode has me wanting to experience the movies one more time to give them a benefit of the doubt. Definitely will do so before your deep dive.
Definitely rewatch them because, yeah, I was shitting on them for years, and then I finally rewatched them with some space after I got over my expectations, you know? There was a lot of expectations hanging on those films, you know, and when we rewatched them, I think both of us appreciated them a lot more.
That's right. I think this is probably the first time on our regular feed that we're talking about these movies, right? So obviously, listeners, we did Alien 3 and Resurrection back in July, and we had planned on just doing a quick, you know, short episode over on Patreon for the prequels because we didn't care for them originally, and now we kind of love them. So I don't know. Look forward to that. So.
Yeah. Love is a strong word, but, you know, we'll get around to it next year and see if it's still shiny and new, because we did watch them right after Resurrection and Alien 3.
That's right. Oh.
And from our Flamers flashback on Dick Tracy that just released not too long ago, Dr. Joe from Patreon said, oh my God, you did it. You pulled the trigger on Dick Tracy. You are now my official favorite people ever. Yes. Oh my God. Chris's assessment of Madonna pre-Evita is spot on. You can hear a distinct voice change after her Evita performance. The episode is 10 stars out of 5. You talked about Madonna pre-calling her Madge. Anything after Madge days are just Gen Z fodder.
Well, we're some old bitches, so I mean... We're certainly not Gen Z.
I always hated that nickname.
Madge.
Madge.
I know. Like, who calls her that? Like, really?
British people.
Oh. Well, yeah, we enjoyed watching Dick Tracy and talking about it. So another flashback episode on Patreon. And the next comment comes from our second flashback episode in August over on Patreon. We covered Darkman, and Brandon said, loved watching this movie as a kid on HBO. I really liked, but was also creeped out by the skin bubbling scene. At the time, I thought the effects were skin crawling. Pun intended.
Yeah, I remember being fairly effective when I first saw the movie way back in the day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it was kind of gross, right? And still kind of gross, you know? Mm-hmm. I did enjoy watching that movie for a second time, so...
Yeah. And a deep cut into our deep dive of Carrie. Bennett over on Patreon said, I have a burning question. How do the Whites afford to live on their own? It doesn't seem like Margaret has a day job, and unless she makes enough money harassing people door to door with her Bible on a weekly basis, I don't see how she makes any money for her or her daughter. Am I missing something, or am I overthinking this? Well, it could be welfare. It could be, honestly, the guy, I think Carrie's real dad is still around somewhere. He might be paying child support. She's taking donations. I don't know if she's using them. I don't know. Margaret White's fucked up.
I feel like in the novel, she had a job, right? I couldn't tell you what it is because I've completely forgotten it. She could have been like a seamstress or a tailor or something. I don't know. I mean, but I think that they explained it a little bit more. But in the movie, I think you're just led to believe that she's harassing people with her Bible. So I think
that makes sense.
Yeah. So, but I mean, good question. I don't know. If anyone knows the answer, let us know on social media. Okay. From our deep dive into the Ghost in the Darkness. So this is a blast from the past.
Yeah.
Bennett over on Patreon said, this episode is the first episode of your show that I remember listening to during last year's COVID shutdown period. I've seen this film first at home in my college years, and it pretty well terrified me. I saw it again in a college course, and was surprised to hear my classmates burst out laughing during the nightmare sequence where the wife and baby get attacked. I guess it was kind of corny the way it was done, but still, my God. Then again, I had a lot of college film courses like that where college brats just laughed at anything and everything.
I think that's a good take because, yeah, anytime we'd watch a movie that made people uncomfortable in film school and we had a large audience, like kids, they just start laughing. Like they're uncomfortable, they're nervous. And especially if you're next to someone that's really affected, like they jump or something or they freak out, people tend to laugh. And then when people laugh, other people laugh. So I think that's just it because I still stand by that scene as being very effective. I mean, we both kind of gushed over how effective that scene was in that episode, I believe.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of the like most horrifying moments in that movie, you know? And like, I really haven't thought about our episode on Ghost in the Darkness in a long time. And now I want to go back and re-listen to that and watch the movie again.
Especially since like 99% of the shit that those lions did, they actually did, you know, in the real story. Like, so it's even more terrifying knowing that.
I took some screenwriting courses in college, and then I took one like film appreciation class, right? And you're right. I mean, like some people they just don't want to watch the movie that they're being presented with, right? And I think that also plays a part in it too. So
yeah. So we got some voicemails.
I love that we're getting all these voicemails, like every Shooting the Flames now, right? So, I mean, really, it makes us happy.
For those of you who are interested in leaving us a voicemail, please do so at 972-666-7733 and let your voice be heard just like these people. And we've got actually 3 from Bennett and 1 from Kimberly. So let's go through Bennett's.
Hello, Tired Queens. This is Bennett, one of your fans as well as now one of your new patrons on Patreon there. Just thought I'd finally call in and give a voicemail to your hotline, as I know you like to say. Anyway, I just wanted to say that I have been a fan for at least maybe a year and a half or so now. I started listening during the shutdowns early last year during COVID there, and I was kind of shut in and couldn't go to work for about 2 months or so. And so I finally came across Stitcher at the time and came across your program as well, and they're among many other things there. I ended up switching to Spotify once I realized I could get it all there for all together with my music. Anyway, not to digress, but anyway, just wanted to call in and show my support to you there. Also mention that I'm also a film school alum, and also took some horror, sci-fi, and fantasy film course at some point during my time in film school there, and so it's good to hear other folks giving their takes on things, especially with a little queer vision, I guess you like to call it there. I also wanted to say that as a new member on Patreon there, I think I'm just now giving $2 a month as what do you call it, film, whatever, I forget your first tier's name there. Anyway, I thought I'd call and say that I'd be curious to, I could give you an extra, maybe branch that up to $5 a month if Robert is willing to go on the air and say some stuff there. I know I listened to your episode on Carrie, re-listened to that recently, and I know how much Robert likes to say some famous lines from that, and particularly the ones like I can see your dirty pillows, they're all going to laugh at you. But I'd love it if he could say that with how he used to love saying that before, but maybe direct it at me, because it would just fucking crack me up. I just loved it there. Anyway, I'll keep listening, and talk to you later. Bye.
Well, nothing says thank you like dollars in the waistband. So dance monkey, say those lines.
Hey, Bennett, I can see your dirty pillows, and I pray you find Jesus. There, 2 lines from Carrie. Come on.
But are they all going to laugh at him?
They're all going to laugh at you. I don't know. I mean, like, how does she say dirty pillows in that movie? I've already forgotten.
I can see your dirty pillows. I don't know. I pray you find Jesus.
Bennett, I'll do it for free. Okay. It's okay.
Technically, the say anything you want in a private recording is actually one of the perks of our highest tier, but we'll do it on the air just for you, since you wave some money at us. We're whores.
I hope you enjoyed it. I don't know.
All right. Well, he left us 2 more voicemails, so here we go.
Hello, Tired Queens. This is Bennett calling again there. First wanted to say thanks for shouting out to me on your last Shooting the Flames there after me becoming one of your patrons on there. I do occasionally get Jane Austen, with regards to my name, I occasionally get Jane Austen references there. However, I've never had anybody refer to my name as a stripper name, so that's a first, but thanks, Robert. Anyway, I was also calling up because I listened recently to your episode on Poltergeist, which I think was last year or so. Anyway, I wanted to call up with a couple anecdotes on that because back when I was in film school quite a while back there, I was lucky enough to get Poltergeist in a class on Spielberg's films and got to see it in 35 millimeter, like on film. So that was a really fun experience there. And I don't think a lot of people in the class had seen it before because, and at least I don't think so there, but it was a large auditorium there that we had for that. And there was a good amount of audience reaction, but I do remember when the clown scene came up, oh boy, did they all just lose it there. That was fun to see that. More importantly, though, with regards to the whole debate about whether Spielberg directed it or Tobe Hooper directed it, who done it or whatever that stuff, I do have another anecdote to add to that might complicate things a little more, even though I agree with you guys that I think it really was a team effort between the two, and it's really just best to leave it at that. But my last semester in college, I was lucky to take a class it was a film-related class for both film students and graduate-level film scoring students, and it was like one of the only classes where people from those different disciplines could actually learn how to collaborate and learn how to talk to each other there, which is actually from what I hear is actually a cause of a lot of issues between directors and composers in the film industry, is that they really just don't know how to communicate with each other. And so this was one class that was trying to help with that there. But the course was taught by a guy named Kenny Hall, who I believe was Jerry Goldsmith's longtime music editor. And he had, at some point, I know he had done a class and screened parts of Poltergeist. And I know he also worked on E.T. that same year, too, with John Williams there. And he had mostly just shared, like, some stories about the challenges with, Poltergeist, in particular, how they worked things out and different things, like he did in a lot of classes. But at some point, somebody mentioned Tobe Hooper, asked something about that. And I just remember him saying something like he and Goldsmith had never met Hooper and had only worked with Spielberg during scoring sessions. Just thought I'd put that little anecdote out there and just share that there.
So that's super interesting, Bennett. Thank you. And that kind of lends to our existing kind of theory that, they both had obviously huge hands in it, but that Spielberg was kind of, calling the shots, not only as executive producer, but as, a director in many functions as well.
And I kind of feel like you would enjoy a class about like directors and like composers working together. I feel like that semester would have been like the shining example of your like college time if you took a class like that.
Yeah. So he also left this third one because our voicemail only runs about 3 minutes, I think. And so it cuts people off. And so he left this last one as a burning question. So let's hear it.
Hey, it's Bennett again. I got cut off because I spoke way too long in that last voicemail, but my last question had to do with about that sound clip that goes with your question about who's the hottest guy each week there. And I've just been dying to ask where the hell you guys found that there, because it sounds like some godforsaken Eddie Murphy movie or something, but I don't know what it is. But anyway, just needed to ask that there. Thanks as always. I'll keep listening, and sweet dreams.
Thank you. I will have sweet dreams. But also, I did reply to this on Patreon, I believe, and I sent the YouTube link, which I'll include in the show notes here for anyone that wants. But it's some guy that posted to YouTube or Instagram or one of those, TikTok even maybe. I don't know. This is a couple years ago. But he saw this, big, hairy, muscular daddy guy jogging, and he's in his car. And he says the whole thing that we have playing. There's a longer version. And I will play it right now for everyone, the full thing.
Bitch, Feliz Navidad, Happy Kwanzaa, all shalom in the hole, come through, Daddy, yes, Daddy, yes.
Come through, Daddy.
Yeah.
My God, the first time you showed me that video, I just fucking died.
Yeah, so I had to include it.
All right, Bennett. So, I already said you had a stripper name. So, maybe if I see you running down the street, I'll just shout that out to you. Right? For free, of course. You don't have to be a higher tier on our Patreon.
Yeah. So our final voicemail is from Kimberly. Let's take a listen.
Hey guys, it's Kimberly, second try. So, point taken about Aquarium of the Dead. Delta 8 is legal here. I may or may not have already indulged and thought that 10 Things I Hate About You was the most fantastic cinema ever created while shoving chips and onion dip in my mouth. But anyway, I just got done having an IUD placed today. And if shoving a piece of plastic into your womb sounds horrible, it is. I'll just tell you that right now. So it feels like I'm incubating an alien queen. So what better movie to watch right now while I'm recovering than Aliens, and I might even watch the other two. We'll see how I feel. So anyway, yeah, thanks. Keep up the good work, and I'll talk to you later.
So, not even being sarcastic, that's exactly the type of voicemail that I want to hear more often.
Please. Oh my God. I know. When I first heard that, I was like, this is why she's one of my favorite people. Oh my God. I also love how she says, like, what better way to do it than watch Alien and Aliens, and maybe I'll watch the other two. Like, she can't even say them by name. Oh my God.
And I'm glad that she has access to Delta 8 over there, and that she thought 10 Things I Hate About You was the most interesting and wonderful movie-making experience of her life.
I kind of feel like maybe we should indulge one night and just watch that movie, because I haven't seen it, like, since the theater.
Yeah. That's like Heath Ledger before Heath Ledger.
That's right. We have a brand new patron to announce.
We do.
And that's Robert B. Welcome to the Patreon family. Robert, we're super happy to have you over there, where we have a growing family of people who like to comment, as you've heard. We'll just talk about it at length. And, we share things back and forth over there. And joining Robert B. are our patrons at the Film Flamer tier or higher. And they are
Ben,
Dr. Joe,
Kimberly,
Lisa,
but especially Lisa,
and Penelope.
That's right.
Guys, we really appreciate all the support over there on Patreon. And like we talked about earlier, we have bonus episodes like crazy. So head over to patreon.com/thefilmflamers, get all of our bonus content, join the family, leave us comments, and you'll be a huge part of our next Shooting the Flames episode.
That's right.
Horror news.
First up in horror news, we've got some casting news for the Vampire Chronicles.
That's right. We have been talking about the Vampire Chronicles, which is going to be a mini-series event over on AMC with both vampires and the Mayfair Witches. And we've gotten our first bit of casting.
Yeah, so we found out who is playing Lestat, and it's pretty much, blonde hair, blue eyes, whatever we'd expect for Lestat, right? Some generic McLean rap handsome actor. I don't know what he's worked on. I'm sorry. I'm unfamiliar with him, but we do have a notable, which is that Game of Thrones Jacob Anderson is playing Louis in Interview with a Vampire.
That's right. And Jacob Anderson played Grey Worm on Game of Thrones, right?
Yes. And he is a person of color, which is, of course, probably riling up some of the more racist Anne Rice fans right now.
Mm-hmm. I think it's fine. I think he's hot.
Yeah, in principle, I think for fantasy or sci-fi, I think it's fair game. I think for things that are meant to be like history or mythology, changing race is bad, but this is fiction. The only thing I think I have a weirdness with is that this is supposed to be period France, right? And period New Orleans. And Louis is, like a fairly prominent, plantation owner and an owner of slaves. So, and that's a huge subplot of Interview with the Vampire. And so I'm kind of wondering how they're going to handle that, if not completely remove that subplot altogether, if they're going to be, if they're going to be a little bit more diverse in this casting. You know what I mean?
You know what? I didn't even think about that subplot when I read the article, right? Like I saw it and I was like, oh, good. I like that guy. I think he's attractive. I think he'll be good. I'll watch him over multiple episodes of a miniseries, right?
Yeah.
And I never thought about the fact that he did own slaves in that book. That is a big part of the first part of that novel and movie.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah, it is. So it'll be interesting to see how they handle that. If they're making things diverse, why not make it, Quentin Tarantino style kind of wishful thinking, not necessarily wishful thinking, but, kind of revisionist history a little bit and make some of the slaves white, that might be interesting to see.
Yeah. I mean, like if you're going to do something like that, then just go on board with it.
That, spits in the face of, all the history that goes along with that,
Sure.
So I don't know. We'll have to see. This is kind of tricky. So the only way I can see them doing it is if they just remove that as a plot, which is, that's fine, but if they're splitting this book into like 6 different parts in a miniseries, then, they're going to have to replace it with something else. I don't know.
I mean, I think they could very easily just like get rid of that subplot like entirely and just like move into it.
Yeah. And I do wonder, since they're starting with Interview with the Vampire, if they're actually the first 3 is going to be like maybe, or at least flashbacks into the Vampire Lestat, since that comes first. That book came first. Well, I mean, it didn't come first in the book series, but it is telling the story of Lestat that takes place way before Interview with the Vampire.
And there's still no word really on when these are going to air, right? So I think I have enough time to start listening to these books. I did use some of my Audible credits to get the Vampire Lestat and Queen of the Damned. So I'm going to work my way through it. So you should be very happy about that, Chris.
Hell yeah.
So do it with me.
You're going to love it.
Next up on our news, there is another remake coming, and it is a new version of Salem's Lot and is coming from James Wan. So one of my favorite, recent horror directors, doing one of my favorite authors, Stephen King, right? And they have announced some casting for that too, although I'm really not sure about who this person is. His name is Louis Pullman, and he apparently was in Strangers Prey at Night. So I've only seen that movie the one time. I can't really remember who he is, but I really like James Wan and I appreciate his work, and I want to see what he would do with some Stephen King. So it really makes me excited to read this piece of news.
Yeah. Have we heard any early reviews for James Wan's newest?
Malignant?
Yeah.
No, I haven't read anything yet. I know it's in a very short amount of time after this episode will drop. It'll be on HBO Max and in theaters. So I saw a different trailer for it and I'm a little bit more interested than I was before. Yeah. They didn't change much. I think they gave away a little bit less than the second trailer. So, and maybe I forgot enough about the first trailer to be happier. I don't know.
Okay. Well, yeah, I wasn't impressed with the trailer, so we'll just have to see.
That's right. So, I mean, if we watch Malignant and we end up hating James Wan, maybe I'll never see this version of Salem's Lot. Who knows?
Coming soon.
First up, we've got a trailer for Yellow Jackets, which is going to be a series on Showtime, and it is looking great because it has Christina Ricci and Juliette Lewis, which just looks amazing.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like sort of like girls' soccer team meets Lord of the Flies meets Alive.
Yeah, so it looks like most of the, traumatizing parts of the story happen before the series begins, right? And so it's kind of flashbacking a little bit maybe, and we're kind of unraveling the mystery of what actually happened when these people were stranded in nowhere and organized themselves into some sort of Lord of the Flies thing until they were rescued. And it looks like a lot of creepy shit happened and went down, and I am loving the trailer. So everyone go out look at the show notes or just look up Yellow Jackets on YouTube or something and check it out.
Yeah, because you already know we stand some Christina Ricci, so we're going to watch it no matter what, just because she's in it, I'm sure.
Juliette Lewis. Just need Parker Posey.
Oh my God! You just made the show better and it hadn't even come out yet. I would die.
If it was those three, oh my God.
The next trailer that we watched is for a movie called Intrusion. This is coming to Netflix, and this stars Logan Marshall Green and Frida Pinto, and it's about a couple who live in some sort of fantabulous house, and someone breaks into it, and Frida Pinto's character is trying to unravel the mystery as to who that person was.
Yeah. So it looks kind of, I don't know. I'm less impressed with this one. It's obviously Logan Marshall Green.
Yeah, I mean, like, clearly. I mean, yeah.
He's wearing like the Ted Bundy glasses or whatever. Come on.
We were watching the trailer together before we started recording, and he was like, he looks like a serial killer. I'm like, yeah, they just gave the entire movie away. The thing is, I like Logan Marshall Green, so, I mean, I'll still watch this movie. I just wish he had a beard.
Yeah. He always looks better with a beard. Mm-hmm.
And Frida Pinto was really good in Slumdog Millionaire, so, I mean, like, I don't know, I'll watch this. Just for the cast, you know, but the movie looks boring as fuck.
Next up, we've got Shelter in Place, which we believe is going to be video on demand. And this one is about this couple that's honeymooning, I believe, in the Roosevelt Hotel. And that's in LA, right?
Yeah.
And they're in a blackout, I guess, or there's blackouts every night. And they're also, I think, quarantining. I'm not sure. And this is kind of keeping a little bit close to the chest, but there's a lot of creepy, weird stuff going on in this hotel. I don't know if it's haunted or if there's serial killers on the list, but it looks creepy as fuck, and I'm here for it.
Yeah, I mean, this is really, out of the trailers that we're going to be talking about on this episode, the most horror of all the trailers, right? I think everything else is kind of adjacent-y, but this has got some really creepy shit, like you said, and it has some elements of things that we're all going through or have gone through in the recent past, being like quarantined or having to shelter in place, right?
Yeah.
So I think is a phrase that we heard a lot in 2020. But yeah, I mean, it looks scary. It looks kind of off-putting, and the music is kind of nice. So I'm looking forward to this. I will watch it just because I feel like it will scare the shit out of me.
Exactly.
The last trailer, and it's not even a trailer, it's more of a teaser, is for a movie called The Guilty, also on Netflix. And the only reason that I would want to talk about it is because you get to see Jake Gyllenhaal's face made out of words, and I just like to see his face.
Yeah, I'm not sure what's going on in this one.
Yeah, he like plays some sort of 911 operator trying to like assist someone who's been abducted, and I've just seen that movie before, right?
Yeah.
But I would sit there and watch Jake Gyllenhaal read a phone book, so I don't care.
Get through, Daddy.
Now come through, Daddy. Yes. Can you imagine when we finally visit Los Angeles, if we ever saw Jake Gyllenhaal like walking down the street, what kind of an ass I would make of myself?
You just recreate that whole video in the car.
I know. No, I'd get out of the car. I would say it directly into his
Happy
face.
Kwanzaa. Shalom in the home.
Oh my God, I love him so much.
Well, guys, that about wraps up this episode of Shooting the Flames.
And as always, we want to know what you think about our episode. Maybe you want to talk about some of the comments that you heard, some of the trailers we talked about, or some of the horror news. You can do all of that on social media at The Film Flamers on Twitter, Facebook, or Instagram.
You can email us at tiredqueens@filmflamers.com, or you can call our hotline at 972-666-7733.
Stripper name is standing by.
Bennet is standing by to take your call.
That's perfect. Oh my God. We've already talked about where you can leave us a review for our podcast and where you can find all of our bonus episodes. So please do all those things because we have another Shooting the Flames episode coming out in October. But before that, what's going on in September, Chris?
Well, what is going on in September? We've got wood, and we're giving you wood.
We're giving you tons of wood. Elijah would.
That's right. With the faculty.
And Maniac.
And we're going to be releasing a poll soon on other horror adjacent or straight up horror Elijah Wood movies for you to pick on over on Patreon. So keep watch out for that.
That's right. Tell us your favorite Wood. All right, Chris. Well, I think it's time for me to go off and get my wood ready for the rest of the month. So, do you want to have some sweet dreams?
It's so hard when you were doing this over the internet.
I'm so ready to record together. It's ridiculous.
God, it doesn't give me what?
The faculty will, though, I promise.